Delaware Senator Chris Coons serves on the Foreign Relations Committee and joins me now. Senator, thank you very much. If it's so significant, and I think it's generally agreed that it was, why didn't the administration make it more apparent, more accessible before the election? The October 7th statement may have been strong from the intelligence perspective, saying it was done at the highest levels, but without mentioning Vladimir Putin by name, that just did not register.
Well, Andrea, I do think that it was clear well before the election that our intelligence community had high confidence that Russia was intentionally interfering in our electoral process. And we need to be clear with the American public what this means. This was a direct assault on our democracy by one of our leading adversaries in the world. And I'm very concerned about the trajectory of President-elect Trump's foreign policy with regards to Russia as a result. It is my hope that we will be able in a bipartisan way to step up and address both Russian cyber hacking of our election and the broader challenges that we face as a country addressing the challenge of cybersecurity going forward. We've seen hacks and break-ins that have affected everything from big box retailers to the Federal Personnel Office to this attack on our election by the Russians. And I think in the United States Congress, we need to work in a responsible and bipartisan way so that we can respond more swiftly and more seriously to future issues just like this one.
Was President Obama too cautious in the run-up to the election?
I would argue yes, but I'll tell you as a senator, it was perfectly clear to me that we had an ongoing challenge. Back in August, I sent a letter to Senator Cruz, who chairs the Oversight Subcommittee of Judiciary, on which I serve as the ranking member, calling for hearings in September about the impact on our election of Russian hacking. Frankly, it got very little attention in the news media, and although I worked with a number of my colleagues to try and elevate the issue, some of my Republican colleagues simply brushed off these allegations as a partisan motivated attack before the election. I think now that the election is over and it's clear that President-elect Trump will be our next president, I'm encouraged to see real bipartisan efforts by senior senators, both Republican and Democrat, to call for a select committee to specifically investigate this incident and to make sure that we all understand the consequences for our future.
And it should be noted that the day that intelligence assessment came out, October 7th, was the same day the Access Hollywood tape shortly afterward came out. So you're absolutely correct that it did not get the attention that that statement deserved to get. And it's very clear to anyone who knows how to read these things that they were talking about Vladimir Putin. But that didn't register until NBC News made that explicit this past week. Now, I wanted to ask you also about the fact that you've got a suspected terrorist on the loose who had been apparently under surveillance by American agencies as well as on a watch list in Germany. How does this happen and a guy get away after a truck attack like that in an open marketplace?
Well, Andrea, I do think this heightens the importance of our sharing intelligence and of our strengthening the intelligence capabilities of our European allies. They have significantly greater threats to their security from folks who are citizens as well as recent arrivals, just because of the sheer size and complexity of the potentially radicalized population in their countries. We've seen significant tragic terrorist attacks in France, in Belgium, in the UK. And in no small part because of that, those other countries, also our allies, have instituted significantly greater domestic surveillance programs. In the United States, we're going to have to strike a good balance between our long-cherished commitment to our civil liberties and what steps we might take in order to strengthen our security here at home. And I am concerned about the statements that President-elect Trump made during the campaign about wanting to impose what I view as an unconstitutional ban on all Muslims entering the United States, or a truly unconstructive step to revive a Bush-era program that profiled and tracked Muslims within the United States. I think there are things we can do to strengthen our security. I think we will need to learn some lessons from this tragic incident in Berlin, this tragic incident in Germany, and how the Germans are responding. But I also think we need to be mindful of the ways in which the United States is an importantly different country in terms of our respect for civil liberties and for the civil rights of all Americans. And does the administration step to get rid of this dormant program, NSEERS, post 9/11 program that hasn't been used since 2011, I guess, is that helpful or
not, as far as you're concerned. It's apparently to obviate the possibility that the incoming Trump administration will be able to create this Muslim registry.
Well, I think it's important that we raise the threshold that the Trump administration is going to have to clear if they want to reinstate a program like this. And that's how I view President Obama's action, is to make it harder to reinstate this program. I think we ought to have a national debate about the balance between liberty and security before taking such a drastic step, one that ultimately was broadly viewed as unsuccessful because it marginalized many loyal, supportive Muslim Americans, and it created more concerns and fears and litigation than it produced positive results for our national security. But that's a robust debate that I think we ought to have, both in the Congress and nationally.
Senator Coons, thank you very much, and happy holidays to you, sir. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Andrea, you as well.